Part 1. The Ultimatum. The council chamber stretched wide, its walls made of something that looked like crystal but felt cold like metal. Taesung stood in the center, his black diplomatic uniform pressed and perfect. Around him sat creatures from 40 different worlds. Some had scales, others had feathers. A few looked like walking plants. All of them stared at him with eyes that showed no kindness. The largest creature in the room clicked its mandibles together. This was Thexul, representative of the Vrelax Empire. Its insect-like body towered over the human ambassador. When it spoke, translators built into Taesung's ear turned the clicking sounds into words. "Human," Thexul said, its voice dripping with contempt. "Your species has been evaluated. The Galactic Council has made its decision. You will surrender 80% of all resources on your world. You will accept our governors to rule your people. You have 30 of your planet's rotations to comply." Taesung kept his face blank. "And if we refuse?" Thexul's mandibles spread wide in what might have been a smile. "Then 12 of our dreadnoughts will reduce your cities to ash. Your oceans will boil. Your atmosphere will burn. We have done this to 47 species before you. All chose to surrender. You will too." The other council members made sounds of agreement. To them this was routine. Just another primitive species being brought into line. They had ruled the galaxy for 4,000 years. No one had ever successfully defied them. Taesung bowed slightly. "I will deliver your message to my government." "See that you do," Thexul said. "The fleet moves to your solar system tomorrow." Across the galaxy, Captain Jiwon sat in the command chair of the UES Dauntless. Her ship was small compared to the alien vessels she had seen, but it was fast. The communications officer turned to her with wide eyes. "Captain, we're receiving a priority alert from Ambassador Taesung's vessel. It's marked urgent." Jiwon straightened in her chair. "Put it through." The message was simple and terrifying. The Council had given Earth an ultimatum. War was coming. "Navigation," Jiwon said calmly, though her heart raced. "Plot a course back to Earth, maximum speed. Communications, send this message ahead of us with every encryption we have. Make sure it reaches Admiral Sungmin directly." Down in the ship's lab, Daeun looked up from her work. She was studying a piece of alien technology they had traded for during a recent visit to a neutral space station. The scientist had suspected this day would come. Humanity's rapid advancement had made the older species nervous. She began running calculations on her computer. The alien weapons were powerful, yes, but they were also old. The Council had been the dominant force for so long that they had stopped innovating. They relied on what had worked for centuries. Humans had only been in space for 100 years. Everything they built was new, tested, and improved constantly. Daeun allowed herself a small smile. The Council was about to learn a hard lesson. On Earth, in a bunker deep beneath the military headquarters, Commander Hyunwoo received the alert. He had been waiting for this. His entire career had been preparing for this exact moment. He walked quickly to the main operations room where dozens of officers monitored screens showing Earth's defenses. "Listen up," he said loudly. Everyone stopped and turned to face him. "The threat we've been preparing for is real. The Alien Council has declared its intentions. They think we're weak. They think we'll surrender. We're going to show them exactly how wrong they are." A young lieutenant raised her hand. "Sir, their technology is far more advanced than ours. How can we possibly win?" Hyunwoo's expression was grim but determined. "Because we've been lying to them. Every ship they've seen, every weapon we've demonstrated, every capability we've shown them has been decades behind our actual technology. We made them think we were primitive. Now we spring the trap." Admiral Sungmin sat in his office reading the message from Taesung for the third time. The old military leader had gray hair and deep lines on his face from decades of service. He had known this would happen eventually. The question was never if, but when. He picked up his secure communication device and made a call. "Madam President, we need to meet immediately. It's time to activate Protocol Endgame." President Bora arrived within the hour. She was a short woman with sharp eyes and a mind that could process complex situations faster than most computers. She had been elected because she promised to protect Earth from outside threats. Now she would have to keep that promise. "How bad is it?" she asked. 12 dreadnoughts, Sungmin replied. "The Council is serious. They expect us to fold." "Our people won't accept surrender," Bora said firmly. "I know. And I'm not suggesting we do." Sungmin pulled up a holographic display. "For 30 years since first contact, we've been running a deception operation. We showed them old technology. We acted grateful for their scraps of knowledge. Meanwhile, our best scientists were developing weapons they can't even imagine. Bora studied the display. Her eyes widened as she saw the true extent of Earth's military capabilities. This is incredible. Why wasn't I told before? Because the fewer people who knew, the better the secret kept. But now it's time. I need your authorization to deploy everything we have. The president thought for only a moment. You have it. Protect our world, Admiral. Show them what happens when they threaten humanity. Across the solar system, the alien fleet began to arrive. 12 massive ships, each 5 kilometers long, moved into position just beyond Pluto's orbit. They were painted in dark colors and bristled with weapons. Inside the lead ship, Thexul studied displays showing Earth and its defenses. Pathetic, it said to its officers. Their orbital platforms are primitive. Their ships are slow. This will be over in hours. What Thexul didn't see were the invisible ships watching from the shadows. What it didn't detect were the weapons platforms disguised as simple satellites. What it couldn't imagine was that humanity had been preparing for this fight since the day they learned they weren't alone in the universe. Back on Earth, in the hidden facility beneath the Gobi Desert, Daeun stood before a massive machine. Around her, hundreds of scientists and engineers checked their systems. This was humanity's greatest secret, and it was about to be revealed. Taesung's ship arrived back in Earth's orbit. He immediately contacted Admiral Sungmin. They're serious about this. Thexul truly believes we'll surrender. Good, Sungmin replied. Let them believe it right up until the moment we show them the truth. How long until their deadline expires? 29 days. Perfect. That gives us time to position everything exactly where we need it. When they attack, we'll be ready. As news of the threat spread across Earth, there was no panic. Humanity had faced extinction before and survived. They had climbed from caves to reach the stars. They had split the atom and cured diseases that once devastated populations. They were not the weak species the Council believed them to be. In cities around the world, people went about their lives with quiet determination. They trusted their leaders. They believed in their military. And deep down, they knew something the aliens didn't. Humanity had always been at its most dangerous when backed into a corner. The countdown had begun. The war was over in 6 hours. It took 3 years for the Vryn Dominion to push the coalition to the edge of defeat. It took Earth's forces less than a day to turn the tide completely. Commander Jisoo Park stood in the observation deck of Threshold Station, looking out at the captured Vryn fleet. Dozens of ships floated in space, disabled but intact. Earth soldiers and coalition personnel moved between them, securing systems and processing prisoners. It didn't look like a battlefield anymore. It looked like a salvage operation. Behind her, the door opened. Admiral Theros entered, moving slowly. He looked tired. He was tired. They all were. The Council wants a full report, Theros said quietly. They're demanding to know how Earth accomplished what the entire coalition military could not. Jisoo turned to face him. What will you tell them? The truth. That we underestimated humanity. That we treated Earth as a junior member of the coalition because your people were new to space. That we forgot to ask why a species would develop such advanced warfare capabilities on a single planet. And what answer did you find? Theros was silent for a moment. Your world is harsh. Gravity higher than most inhabited planets. Weather that ranges from deadly heat to deadly cold. Predators evolved to hunt your ancestors. And worse than all of that, you fought each other for thousands of years. Every nation, every tribe, every group learning how to destroy the others. You didn't just survive that. You mastered it. War isn't something we're proud of, Admiral, but it's something you're exceptional at. Theros moved to stand beside her at the window. The Council is afraid, Commander. They saw what your soldiers did. The precision, the ruthlessness, the complete lack of hesitation when killing was necessary. They're wondering if they made a mistake inviting Earth into the coalition. Jisoo felt a flash of anger but kept her voice calm. We saved your station. We stopped the Vryn, and now you're afraid of us? Fear and respect often look the same from the outside. Theros pointed at the disabled Vryn ships. But the Council isn't the only one watching. Every government in known space has seen the battle recordings. Earth's reputation just changed forever. You're no longer the new species trying to prove yourselves. You're the species that everyone else needs to be careful around. In a conference room on Earth, General Minho Choi sat across from a dozen politicians and military leaders. They were all talking at once, asking questions, making demands. Choi waited patiently for them to quiet down. "General," one politician said, "the galactic news networks are calling us Deathworlders. They're saying Earth is the most dangerous military power in the coalition. Some are demanding we be restricted from certain sectors. And others are asking us to send military advisors to train their forces," another added. "We've received 17 requests in the last hour alone." Choi nodded. Both reactions were expected. The galaxy has two choices now. They can fear us or they can respect us. Ideally, they'll do both. "This was your plan all along, wasn't it?" asked a woman from the diplomatic corps. "You wanted to make a statement." "I wanted to keep Threshold Station from falling," Choi replied calmly. "But yes, I knew this battle would change how the galaxy sees us. For 3 years, we've been the junior partner. Support troops. Logistics personnel. Good enough to help, but not good enough to lead. That perception was getting humans killed. And now they know what we're capable of. They know that when humans fight, we fight to win. And they know that attacking Earth or our allies comes with a very high price." The room was quiet for a moment. "What about the soldiers?" someone asked. "The Reapers. How many people know about them?" "Everyone now," Choi said. That was part of the point. The galaxy needed to see that Earth doesn't just have good soldiers. We have soldiers that can match or exceed anything else out there. Major Shin's team showed them that. Captain Hiron Kim walked through the docking bay of Threshold Station. Her soldiers were loading equipment, preparing for the return trip to Earth. They moved efficiently, professionally. You wouldn't know by looking at them that they had just won an impossible battle. Lieutenant Doyen Lee approached her, saluting. "Captain, all teams reporting in. 0 casualties, 17 minor injuries. All recovered equipment is secure. Good work, Lieutenant." "How are the troops?" "Tired but satisfied. They know what they accomplished here." Doyen paused. "The coalition soldiers keep staring at us. Some look grateful. Others look scared. They'll get used to it eventually." Hiron looked around the bay. "Where's Sergeant Kang?" "Cleaning her rifle. As usual." Hiron found Eunji Kang sitting on a supply crate, carefully maintaining her weapon. The rifle was custom-made, designed specifically for long-range combat in space. In the right hands, it was one of the most dangerous weapons in existence. In Eunji's hands, it was legendary. "Sergeant, how many confirmed kills did you get?" Eunji didn't look up from her work. 73 bridge officers across 12 ships. Could have been more, but some ships surrendered before I could engage. You sound disappointed. I had 84 rounds loaded. I hate wasting ammunition. Eunji finally looked up, a slight smile on her face. But I suppose saving the station was worth it. Across the docking bay, Corporal Junho Han was demonstrating his detonation techniques to a group of coalition engineers. They watched in fascination as he explained how to turn enemy ammunition stores into chain reaction bombs. "The key is understanding the materials you're working with," Junho explained. "Every explosive has a trigger point. You just need to know what that point is and how to reach it with minimal equipment." One of the engineers, a reptilian species with scales that changed color based on emotion, asked a question. "But how did you learn so much about Vrin ammunition? That information is classified even within the coalition military." Junho grinned. "We asked, when you're serious about learning how to fight someone, you study everything about them. What they eat, how they think, what their technology does, what makes it explode. The coalition classified the information. Earth just decided classification was less important than winning." In the Vrin dreadnought, Major Yuna Shin stood in what used to be the Warlord's command center. It was now an Earth military operations post. Technicians were downloading data from the Vrin computers, learning everything they could about enemy tactics and technology. Specialist Taejin Oh worked at a central console, his neural interface allowing him to process information faster than any normal human could read it. "Major, you need to see this," he said. "I've been analyzing Vrin communication records. They were planning to attack 5 more coalition systems after Threshold, including Earth." Yuna felt cold. "They were going to attack our homeworld?" According to these records, they saw Earth as the weakest link in the coalition. Small population off-planet, limited fleet presence, soldiers they considered inferior. "They thought we'd surrender immediately. They thought wrong. Very wrong." Taejin pulled up more data. "But Major, there's something else. The Vryn aren't the only hostile force in this sector. There are 3 other expansionist empires watching the coalition, waiting to see if we're weak enough to attack. When they hear about what happened here, they'll think twice before starting anything, or they'll see us as the primary threat and come at us first. Yuna was quiet for a moment, thinking. That's a problem for later. Right now, let's make sure everyone in this sector knows exactly what happened here. I want every government, every military, every warlord and emperor to see what happens when you attack Earth. Already working on it. The battle recordings are being broadcast on every major network. By this time tomorrow, the entire galaxy will know our names. 2 days later, the Vryn Dominion sent an official communication to the Coalition Council. They were requesting a peace treaty. The message was simple and direct. The Dominion acknowledged its defeat and agreed to cease all hostile actions against Coalition territory. At the bottom of the message was a personal note from the surviving Vryn leadership to Earth's military command. It said simply, "We underestimated you. We will not make that mistake again." Commander Jisoo Park was promoted to Coalition Strategic Command. Her first assignment was to establish a joint Earth Coalition military training program. Species from across known space were sending officers to learn from human tactics and strategies. Lieutenant Doyen Lee and his team were offered positions as instructors at the Coalition Military Academy. They accepted. Within a year, their combat techniques would be taught to soldiers across dozens of worlds. Sergeant Yoonji Kang's rifle was studied by weapons designers from 7 different species. None of them could figure out how she made shots that should have been impossible. When asked, she said it wasn't the weapon, it was practice. 10,000 hours of practice. Corporal Junho Han became an advisor to Coalition Engineering Corps. His demolitions technique saved lives by teaching soldiers how to disable enemy assets without excessive force. He still loved explosions, but now he was helping others learn to use them wisely. Major Yuna Shin and Reaper Team Alpha returned to Earth. Their existence was no longer secret, but their operations remained classified. The galaxy knew Earth had enhanced soldiers. What they didn't know was how many, how powerful, or where they were deployed. That uncertainty kept potential enemies cautious. Part 2, The Hidden Arsenal. The convoy of black vehicles moved across the desert at night. Inside the lead vehicle, Admiral Sung Min sat next to President Bo-Ra. Behind them, several trucks carried the top military commanders and key scientists. They were heading to a place that officially didn't exist. The entrance appeared to be nothing more than an old mining facility. Rusted equipment sat outside and sand covered everything. It looked abandoned. But when the vehicles approached, a massive door hidden beneath the sand slid open. They descended into the earth on a ramp that went down for nearly a kilometer. Commander Hyunwoo had never seen anything like it. The facility was enormous. It stretched in every direction, carved from solid rock and reinforced with materials he didn't recognize. Thousands of people worked here, all sworn to absolute secrecy. This was where humanity's real military power had been built. Da-eun waited for them in the main laboratory. She looked tired but excited. This was the moment she had been working toward for 15 years. Behind her stood a machine that looked like it belonged in a science fiction movie. "Madam President, Admiral," she said with a slight bow. "Welcome to Project Sanctuary. What you're about to see is classified at the highest level. Everything the aliens think they know about our technology is wrong. We made sure of that." She led them through the facility, stopping at different sections. First was the weapons development area. Engineer Jae-hyun stood next to what looked like a small sphere floating in a containment field. "This," Jae-hyun explained, "is a gravity well generator. When activated, it can collapse space-time in a localized area. Anything within range gets pulled toward the center point with irresistible force. We can create artificial black holes that last for exactly 7 seconds, long enough to destroy a ship, short enough that they dissipate safely." One of the visiting generals whistled low. "How many of these do we have?" 300, Jae-hyun said. "Positioned throughout the solar system. The aliens flew right past them and never detected a thing." They moved to the next section where Minho waited. He was young for a tactical officer, barely 30, but his genius for military strategy was unmatched. He pulled up a holographic display showing the entire solar system. "We've been tracking every alien ship that entered our space for 3 decades, Minho said. "We know their patrol routes, their response times, their communication protocols. We've hacked their systems without them knowing. Right now, we can listen to every conversation happening on those dreadnoughts. How is that possible? President Bo-Ra asked. Ambassador Taesung? Minho said with a smile. He's been planting listening devices on alien ships for years. They scan for bombs and weapons, but they never thought to scan for simple recording equipment. We know everything they're planning. Taesung had returned to Earth and now stood among them. He looked different in his military uniform than he did in diplomatic robes. I told them we were eager to learn from them, he said quietly. I acted impressed by their technology. I made them feel superior. Meanwhile, I was stealing every piece of information I could find. The group moved deeper into the facility. They reached a massive hangar where rows of sleek black ships sat ready for launch. These didn't look like the clunky Earth vessels the aliens had seen. These were beautiful and deadly. Pilot Subin stood next to one of the fighters. She was the best pilot in the program, chosen to lead the stealth squadron. These ships use a technology we developed called phase shifting, she explained. We can slip between dimensions for short periods. To enemy sensors, we simply don't exist. We can fly right up to their hulls and they'll never know we're there. She climbed into the cockpit and powered up the ship. The group watched as it seemed to shimmer and then disappeared completely. They couldn't see it, couldn't detect it on any scanner. Then it reappeared 30 seconds later. We have 200 of these fighters, Subin said as she climbed back out. Each one carries weapons that can punch through any known shield technology. The aliens use energy barriers. We designed our weapons specifically to ignore those barriers. Yunwoo was starting to understand the scope of what had been built here. This wasn't just a military project. This was humanity's insurance policy against extinction. They entered another laboratory where Yuna, the communications officer, showed them recordings of alien transmissions. We've been intercepting their messages for years, she said. We know the Council's real plans. After they take our resources, they intended to eliminate humanity completely. They see us as a potential threat because we advance too quickly. The room went quiet. President Bo-Ra's face hardened. They were going to genocide us regardless of whether we surrendered. Yes, Madam President, Yuna confirmed. Surrender was never really an option. It would have just delayed the inevitable. Admiral Sung-min nodded slowly. Then we have no choice. We fight, and we make sure they never threaten us again. Dayun led them to the largest room in the facility. Here, scientists worked on weapons that seemed impossible. One device could create electromagnetic pulses targeted so precisely, they could fry the nervous system of a specific alien species while leaving others unharmed. Another could launch projectiles at 90% the speed of light. We've also developed AI combat systems, Dayun said. Our computers can process battle data thousands of times faster than any living being. In a fight, we can predict enemy movements and respond before they complete their actions. It gives us an enormous advantage. But the most impressive weapon was still the one she had shown them first. The gravity well generator could turn entire sections of space into death traps. Enemy ships would find themselves unable to escape, pulled toward doom by forces they couldn't resist. General Wu Jin, who commanded Earth's ground forces, had a question. What about their ground troops? If they decide to invade? Yunwoo smiled grimly. We have nanite swarms. Microscopic machines that can disassemble matter at the molecular level. They're programmed to target alien biology specifically. They won't harm humans or Earth life, but anything from off-world. He let the sentence hang. They spent hours touring the facility. Every section revealed another secret weapon, another hidden advantage. Humanity had spent 3 decades and trillions in resources preparing for this moment. Finally, they gathered in a conference room deep in the facility. President Bo-Ra looked around at her military leaders and scientists. Can we win? Admiral Sung-min answered without hesitation. Yes, not only can we win decisively. The question is how far we want to take this. What do you mean? Bo-Ra asked. We can destroy their fleet, Sung-min said. But we could also strike at their homeworlds. We could cripple the Council's ability to threaten anyone ever again. We have to decide what kind of message we want to send to the galaxy. Minho pulled up tactical data. If we just defend Earth, other species might see it as lucky. But if we go on the offensive, if we show we can strike anywhere in the galaxy, no one will threaten us again. Taesung spoke up. I've been communicating with representatives from smaller species in the Council. Many of them are oppressed by the Vrelax Empire. If we defeat the Council's fleet and offer protection to those species, we could change the entire political structure of the galaxy. President Bora thought carefully. This was bigger than just defending Earth. This was about humanity's place among the stars. We defend our world first, she decided. We make them regret coming here. Then we see how they respond. If they want peace, we'll negotiate. If they want war, we'll give them more than they can handle. Orders went out across Earth and throughout the solar system. Hidden weapons platforms came online. Stealth ships moved into position. Soldiers prepared for combat. Scientists made final checks on experimental weapons. In orbit around Mars, Captain Jiwan received her orders. Her ship and 50 others would be the visible defense force. They were the bait, meant to make the aliens think Earth's military was weak. While the enemy focused on them, the real attack would come from the stealth fleet. It feels wrong, her first officer said. Using ourselves as bait, Jiwan shook her head. It's necessary. They need to think they're winning right up until the moment we spring the trap. Our shields are good enough to survive the initial attack. We just have to trust the plan. Back in the desert facility, Da-Yun made final adjustments to the gravity well generators. Everything had to work perfectly. There would be no second chances. Admiral Sung-min sent one final message to all forces. In 3 days, the aliens will attack. They think we're weak. They think we'll break easily. Show them what humanity really is. Show them what happens when they threaten our home. And remember, we're not just fighting for ourselves. We're fighting for every species that's been oppressed by the Council. Make this count. The countdown continued. Earth was ready. The aliens had no idea what was coming. Part 3. The demonstration. The deadline passed with no response from Earth. On the bridge of his flagship, Thexuel clicked its mandibles in satisfaction. The humans had chosen to resist. It would be a short resistance. All ships advance, Thexuel commanded. Destroy their orbital platforms first. Show them the price of defiance. The 12 dreadnoughts moved forward, their weapons charging. They targeted the defense platforms that orbited Earth, old-looking structures that appeared barely functional. To the Vrelax, this would be like crushing insects. In Earth's command center, Admiral Sung-min watched the enemy approach. Around him, officers monitored hundreds of screens. Everything was going according to plan. Sir, they're targeting platforms 7 through 23, an officer reported. Evacuate those platforms, Sung-min ordered calmly. Make it look panicked. I want them to think we're scrambling. On the platforms, human personnel rushed to escape pods. They launched away from the stations just as the alien weapons fired. Brilliant beams of energy struck the platforms, tearing them apart in spectacular explosions. Thexel watched the destruction with pleasure. Pitiful. Their defenses fall like paper. Continue the attack. Target their ships next. Captain Jiwan gripped her command chair as her ship shook from near misses. Hold position, she ordered. Don't return fire yet. Let them think we're paralyzed by fear. The Vrelax dreadnoughts pushed deeper into Earth's space. More defense platforms exploded. A few human ships were hit, though their crews had already evacuated. Everything visible to the aliens suggested an easy victory. They're so arrogant, Hyunwoo muttered from his command post. They don't even bother with proper formation. They think this is target practice. Admiral Sung-min allowed himself a small smile. Good, let them get comfortable. Navigator, how far into the kill zone are they? 80%, sir. Another 2 minutes and they'll all be in position. Those 2 minutes felt like hours. The alien fleet continued its advance, destroying anything that looked like a threat. They had no idea they were flying into the most sophisticated trap humanity had ever created. In her stealth fighter, Subin watched the enemy ships through sensors they couldn't detect. Her squadron of 50 fighters was positioned all around the alien fleet, completely invisible. She had a clear shot at the lead dreadnought's engines, but the order to fire hadn't come yet. Stay patient, she whispered to her pilots over the secure channel. Wait for the signal. Down in the Gobi Desert facility, Da-Yun's fingers hovered over the activation controls for the gravity well generators. Sweat ran down her face despite the cool air. Everything depended on perfect timing. All enemy ships are now in the kill zone, an officer announced. Admiral Sung-min stood up. Activate Protocol Endgame. Show them what we really are. Da-Yun pressed the activation button. Throughout the solar system, 300 hidden gravity well generators came online simultaneously. The effect was immediate and devastating. On the Vrelax flagship, alarms screamed. Thexuel lurched forward as artificial gravity fluctuated wildly. What's happening? It demanded. Unknown phenomenon, an officer replied, panic in its voice. Our engines are losing power. Something is pulling us off course. The three Vrelax ships on the left flank suddenly found themselves being dragged toward each other by irresistible force. Their crews desperately tried to compensate, but nothing worked. The massive vessels collided in a horrific crash, their shields sparking and failing. The impact ruptured hulls and caused secondary explosions. All ships emergency retreat, Thexul commanded. But it was too late. At Admiral Sungmin's signal, Subin and her squadron dropped out of phase shift. They appeared right next to the alien vessels, so close they could have touched the hulls. The Vrelax sensors had barely registered their presence when the fighters opened fire. Human weapons, designed specifically to counter alien shield technology, punched through the defensive barriers like they weren't there. Precision strikes hit engine sections, weapons arrays, and command centers. The aliens had never faced an attack like this. Break formation, Subin ordered her pilots. Alpha pattern, keep moving. Don't give them a target. The stealth fighters moved with incredible speed and precision, their AI-assisted targeting systems never missing. Every shot found its mark. Every attack disabled critical systems. Captain Jiwan's conventional fleet suddenly came alive. The ships that had seemed helpless moments before now moved with purpose and coordination. They fired weapons that the aliens hadn't seen in the initial displays, weapons far more advanced than the Vrelax expected. All ships, focus fire on the damaged vessels, Jiwan commanded. Don't let them recover. Electromagnetic pulses, targeted with impossible precision, swept across two of the dreadnoughts. The pulses were calibrated to disrupt the nervous systems of Vrelax biology. Specifically, thousands of alien crew members collapsed instantly, their bodies unable to function. The ships went dark, floating dead in space. Thexul watched in horror as its fleet disintegrated. Half the dreadnoughts were already destroyed or disabled. The others were taking heavy damage from enemies they could barely detect. "This is impossible," Thexul said. "They're primitives. How do they have this technology?" A tactical officer, one of the few still functioning, managed to speak. "Commander, we must retreat. We've lost." On Earth, Specialist Dong-Hyun activated the quantum entanglement array. This weapon was experimental, but it had tested successfully. It could strike across vast distances instantly, ignoring the normal laws of space and time. He targeted the weapon systems on 3 of the remaining dreadnoughts. Across light seconds of distance, the quantum-linked particles interacted. The alien weapons suddenly exploded from within, as if struck by bombs that materialized inside them. Hyun-woo coordinated the entire battle with ruthless efficiency. He had studied alien tactics for years. He knew exactly how they would respond to each situation. Every move the Vrelax made, he had predicted. His countermoves were already prepared. "They're trying to form a defensive sphere," he announced. "Release the nanite swarms." From hidden launchers throughout the solar system, clouds of microscopic machines deployed. They were invisible to the naked eye and barely detectable on sensors. But they were deadly. The nanites swarmed over 2 of the dreadnoughts, eating through hulls like acid through paper. In mere minutes, holes appeared in the alien armor. Atmosphere vented into space. The ships began to break apart from structural failure. Engineer Jae-hyun monitored the gravity well generators carefully. The weapons were working perfectly, but they couldn't run forever. He adjusted power levels, ensuring they would last long enough to finish the battle. One of the Vrelax dreadnoughts managed to break free from the gravity trap. It tried to activate its faster-than-light drive to escape. The ship vanished for a moment, then reappeared in almost the same location, damaged and sparking. "They tried to jump away," Minho reported with satisfaction. "But we seeded the entire area with FTL inhibitors. They're stuck here until we decide to let them go." Of the 12 dreadnoughts that had attacked Earth, only 4 were still functional. Their shields were failing, their weapons depleted, their crews in chaos. Thexul knew the battle was lost. "Open a channel to the humans," it ordered. Communications Officer Yoon-ah received the request. She patched it through to Admiral Sung-min. "Admiral," Thexul said, its voice shaking, "we surrender. Please cease your attack." Sung-min's face was hard as stone. "You came to our world with threats of genocide. You attacked us without mercy. Why should we show you mercy now?" "We were wrong," Thexul admitted, something that went against every instinct the proud alien had. "We underestimated you. Please allow my surviving ships to withdraw." Sung-min considered for a long moment. Then he nodded to Tae-sung, who had been waiting for this moment. Ambassador Tae-sung's face appeared on every communication channel in the sector. His message was broadcast not just to the Vrelax fleet, but to every alien ship within range. It would spread across the galaxy within hours. "People of the Galactic Council," Taesung said in perfect galactic standard, "you sent 12 warships to destroy Earth. You threatened us with extinction. You believed us weak and helpless. You were wrong." He paused, letting the words sink in. "Look at what remains of your fleet. 4 ships out of 12, thousands of your warriors dead. Your most powerful weapons proved useless against us. This was not war. This was a lesson." The camera angle widened to show the devastation in space. Destroyed and disabled dreadnoughts drifted among debris fields. Human ships moved between them, clearly in complete control of the battlefield. "We could destroy what remains of your fleet," Taesung continued. "We could strike at your homeworlds. We have weapons you cannot imagine and the ability to deploy them anywhere in the galaxy. But we are not monsters. We are not conquerors." Thexul listened, mandibles trembling. "Return to your council," Taesung said. "Tell them what happened here. Tell them that humanity will not be threatened. Tell them that we know about the oppressed species under their rule. Tell them that if they ever come to Earth with hostile intent again, we will respond with force they cannot comprehend. This is your only warning," Admiral Sungmin gave the order. "Deactivate the gravity wells. Let them go." Part 4. The Galactic Response. The footage spread across the galaxy like wildfire. Every species with access to galactic communication networks saw the battle. The mighty Vrelax Empire, unchallenged for 4,000 years, had been humiliated by a species that had barely left its own solar system. Ambassador Taesung sat in his office on Earth, reading messages from alien contacts he had cultivated over the years. 3 different species had reached out secretly, asking if the humans would be willing to discuss alliances. Others wanted to know if the weapons they had seen were available for trade. "The galaxy is afraid," Taesung said to Admiral Sungmin during a secure video call. "But they're also hopeful. Many species have suffered under council rule for centuries. They see us as potential liberators." Sungmin nodded. "We can use that, but we need to be careful. The council will respond. This isn't over." On the Vrelax homeworld, the council chambers were in chaos. The 4 surviving dreadnoughts had returned, carrying recordings and survivors. What they described seemed impossible, yet the evidence was undeniable. "They had weapons we've never encountered," one ship captain reported, its mandibles clicking nervously. "Ships that appeared from nowhere. Weapons that ignored our shields. Technology that controlled gravity itself." An elder council member, a reptilian creature from the Krell Dominion, spoke up. "How did they hide this from us? We've been monitoring them for 30 years. "They deceived us," another alien admitted. "They showed us old technology and pretended to be grateful for our teachings. Meanwhile, they were developing weapons in secret." The Vrelax Emperor, largest of its kind, slammed a clawed limb on the table. "We cannot let this insult stand. Humanity must be punished. I want every available warship prepared. We will crush them with sheer numbers." But not everyone agreed. A representative of the Aquatic Melthera Collective raised a tentacled limb. "Perhaps we should reconsider. If they defeated 12 dreadnoughts so easily, what makes you think a larger fleet will succeed? Are you suggesting we negotiate with these primitives?" The Emperor demanded. "I'm suggesting we recognize reality," the Melthera replied. "Humanity is clearly not primitive. Perhaps it's time we treated them as equals." The debate raged for hours. Finally, the council decided to assemble a massive armada. Over 100 capital ships and twice as many support vessels would be sent to Earth. They would overwhelm the humans through sheer force. On Earth, Intelligence Officer Heywan intercepted the Council's communications. She brought the information directly to Admiral Sungmin and President Bora. "They're coming again," Heywan reported. "And this time they're bringing everything they have." Bora looked worried. "Can we defeat a fleet that large?" Sungmin studied the data. "Not if we fight them at Earth. The battle would devastate our world even if we won. We need a different strategy." He pulled up a star map and pointed to several locations. "We don't wait for them to come to us. We take the fight to them, and we make allies along the way." Over the next weeks, humanity launched a diplomatic and military campaign unlike anything the galaxy had seen. Envoy Hyo-Rin, a skilled negotiator, traveled to neutral worlds with offers of technology exchange and mutual defense pacts. The crystalline Shorvax, who had been conquered by the Council centuries ago, were the first to accept. Their world was rich in minerals, but their technology was limited. Humanity offered advanced weapons in exchange for resources and information about Council military installations. "We have dreamed of freedom for generations," the Shorvax leader said, its crystalline body refracting light in patterns that expressed emotion. "If you truly oppose the Council, we will stand with you." The Melthera Collective also began secret negotiations. They had always resented Vrelak's dominance but had never been strong enough to resist. Now, with humanity as an ally, they saw opportunity. Meanwhile, Captain Jiwan led deep space reconnaissance missions. Her stealth ships mapped enemy bases and supply routes. The information they gathered would be crucial for the coming conflict. "Their main fleet is assembling at a staging area near the Karvan Nebula," Jiwan reported. "But their defenses are focused outward. They're not expecting an attack there." In the Gobi Desert facility, Daun worked with her team to create even more devastating weapons. They developed focused particle beams that could cut through a ship's hull like a hot knife through butter. They created mines that could hide in the fabric of space itself, invisible until activated. But the most impressive development came from engineer Jae-hyun. He had created a network of quantum-linked devices that could be placed near any planet. Once activated, they would create artificial singularities, small black holes that would persist just long enough to devastate a world's infrastructure without destroying the planet itself. "It's the ultimate deterrent," Jae-hyun explained. "We plant these near Council homeworlds. They'll be dormant, undetectable. But if the Council attacks us, we can activate them remotely. Instant retaliation." General Wu Jin, who had been quiet during most meetings, finally spoke up. "This is risky. If the Council discovers these devices before we're ready, they could reverse engineer them. That's why we're using human agents to place them," Hyun-woo said. "Small teams moving quietly. The Council is so focused on their fleet buildup that their security has become lax." Tae-sung coordinated the insertion of these teams. Former diplomats, scientists, and engineers who had visited alien worlds before now returned with secret cargo. One by one, the devices were planted and hidden. Tactician Minho spent his time developing the overall battle strategy. "The Council expects us to defend Earth again. Instead, we'll hit them on multiple fronts simultaneously. When their fleet moves toward us, we'll strike their supply lines. We'll liberate oppressed worlds. We'll make them fight everywhere at once." Pilot Subin trained new squadrons. The success of the stealth fighters in the first battle had proven their worth. Now humanity was building more of them. Hundreds of new pilots learned to phase shift between dimensions and strike from nowhere. On a neutral space station, Merchant Captain Kwan noticed something interesting. Human goods, which had been curiosities before, were suddenly in high demand. Species across the galaxy wanted to trade with Earth. Some wanted weapons, others wanted technology. All of them wanted to align themselves with the species that had defeated the Vrelaks. "We're becoming the center of a new power structure," Kwan reported to Earth Command. "The old order is cracking. Species that were forced into the Council are looking for a way out." Dr. Yoonji, a specialist in alien psychology, analyzed the situation. "The Council ruled through fear and demonstrated superiority. But we shattered that demonstration. Now every oppressed species is wondering if they could resist too. If we play this correctly, we could trigger a galaxy-wide revolution." President Bora addressed the nation and the galaxy in a broadcast that was transmitted to every world with communication technology. She stood in front of Earth's flag, her expression serious but determined. "People of Earth and people of the galaxy," she began. "The Galactic Council has decided to respond to their defeat with more violence. They are assembling an armada to attack our world again. They believe numbers will overcome skill and determination." She paused, letting the message spread. "They are wrong. Humanity will not wait passively for destruction. We will meet their aggression with strength. We will defend our allies. We will protect the oppressed, and we will show the Council that the age of their dominance is over." The message was clear. Humanity was going on the offensive. Across the galaxy, on 17 different worlds where the Council held power, human sleeper agents received coded messages. They had been in place for years, posing as traders, scholars, and workers. Now they activated. Admiral Sung-min gave the final order to begin operations. "All teams execute your missions. It's time to change the galaxy." At the Vrelak staging area, the massive fleet continued to gather. Texul, demoted but still given command of a squadron, watched the preparations with grim determination. This time, they would not underestimate the humans. But what Thexul didn't know was that humanity had already won the information war. Every communication was intercepted. Every plan was known. The Council's fleet was walking into another trap, but this time, the trap spanned the entire galaxy. Captain Jiwan's reconnaissance ships positioned themselves near the staging area, invisible to alien sensors. They were prepared to strike the moment the order came. Her crew was nervous but ready. "Remember," Jiwan told them, "we're not just fighting for Earth. We're fighting for every species that suffered under the Council. Make every shot count." On Earth, in the command center, Admiral Sungmin looked at the strategic display. Human forces were positioned across dozens of star systems. Allied species were ready to act. Weapons of unimaginable power were prepared to deploy. The Vrelax Armada began to move toward Earth's solar system. They expected to find a desperate defense. Instead, they were about to discover that humanity had brought the war to them. As the alien fleet entered hyperspace, human strike teams executed their missions. On 3 colony worlds, orbital defenses suddenly went offline. On 2 others, slave populations received weapons and training from human operatives.